A courageous conversation tonight in our We the People series. In politics, there's many different opinions on what's best for kids and their education. Over the years, schools have been forced to implement governmental programs such as No Child Left Behind, Common Core, and sex education. But we wanted to know what's worked and what hasn't. Color 10's Bria takes a look at how taking federal money influences schools' teaching methods.
Kids get one shot at a pre-K through 12th grade education. Some might even say it's the foundation of their future success. So there's no question the federal government needs to get it right. However, how that's best accomplished can be controversial as schools wait in limbo for it to get sorted out.
Public education has become a political football.
If we're comparing it to the sport, the football Nixa School Superintendent Dr. Stephen Kleinsmith says is your child's education, with the stadium located at the United States Capitol, and the players are members of Congress, serving as both Democrats and Republicans with a handful of independents.
I think both parties have very clearly established their willingness to not work together very well. I wonder if the quality of the idea is even important to them. I think what happens is if it has political gain made available for their party, they run that up the flagpole. Kids end up suffering because of it.
One example of this, according to educators I talked to, was the No Child Left Behind Act, introduced under the Bush administration in 2001, a law that has since been replaced, but was partially designed to measure students' academic progress based on standardized tests, something that Dr. Kleinsmith says can be harmful when students are only learning to pass an exam.
The problem is with some state or federal mandates is it gets you to focus maybe too much on just a test item or a set of questions on a test. And you start, as they say, teaching to the test.
I think they suffer in that a lot of the things that they are asked to do are not based on research.
By people with experience in the field of education, according to Susan Hanchey, a kindergarten teacher at John Thomas School of Discovery.
It gets very frustrating when the experts in the field are not consulted about what needs to happen. Aaron Sachs and Associates don't come to me for legal advice. That's not my area of expertise. That's their area of expertise.
Ultimately, it's educators who want a place on the coaching team to decide the best play moving forward for education policy.
It just seems common sense.
It's a situation that ties the hands of public schools when accepting federal grants. After all, it's those funds that usually come with strings attached.
That came from Grove City versus Bell, U.S. Supreme Court case, where the Supreme Court said if you take any federal money, you are susceptible to submitting to any kind of federal regulation.
Sometimes I question whether or not we need any of their assistance as we go about the business of educating the youth of our community and throughout the state and nation. But having said that, they do contribute about 6% of our budget comes from the federal government.
As a result, some of the power is taken away from individual schools on what is taught and placed in the government's control.
Even if your private schools took Department of Agriculture money for milk, the state has the right to say, well, then you have to take our state assessments because you took federal dollars.
Although experts have offered differing opinions on what's wrong with government interference in the school system, here's what Springfield School Superintendent Dr. John Jungman says has worked, and that's the Every Student Succeeds Act, also known as ESSA.
One of the best things that's happened most recently with federal expectation is ESSA, which is the replacement for No Child Left Behind. So I think we learned some things of what's bad about No Child Left Behind. There were some good things, but there were some things that weren't great. And ESSA, which was passed in 2015, had huge bipartisan support from both sides of the aisle. And it really had as an intent of returning more local control to states and to communities to serve students.
So the issue to consider is whether a child's education should be a political football, left in the hands of the winning political party or in the hands of local educators. In Springfield, Bria Color 10 News, Ozarks First.